Hi, everyone. I just wanted to start by thanking you all for everything throughout our semesters at the U of U. It's been great learning with all of you, and definitely thank you, Jenny, for being so great and working with all of us in this final semester. Really missed finishing out the semester with you all, and I hope that you're all doing well. Anyway, I am doing my presentation on citizen monarch conservation. Tell you briefly how this project evolved. When I was a student at Salt Lake Community College in one of my last semesters, I was walking by a place on campus where they had a big field of milkweed, and I happened to see a monarch butterfly, and it kind of stood out to me because I hadn't seen one in years. I grew up with them. I've raised a couple in jars and let them go. They used to be really common in this area, but I noticed that I hadn't seen them for years, and this kind of started me doing some research, looking into things, and I found out that the western monarch population, which overwinter in Mexico and Southern California and then migrate north and lay their eggs on milkweed stands in other western states such as Utah, Wyoming, Northern California. That population has declined 98% since the 1980s. So I started looking into why and discovered that it's mainly because of major loss of habitat, mainly their milkweed stands, which is the only source of food for monarch caterpillars. This is due to development, agricultural development, commercial development, and residential development, and also due to widespread pesticide use. And monarchs are very sensitive to pesticides and also the caterpillars. So if they ingest that or land on plants, nectar plants, or milkweed plants that have pesticides, it can kill them. This got me researching what we can do in our local urban environments to help support the monarch population and also the declining insect populations across the U.S. I actually wrote a piece that was published in the U of U Earth Tones journal. It was a creative nonfiction piece kind of about this topic of creating urban gardens and urban spaces that support local pollinators and other insects. So my original plan was I'm majoring in writing and rhetoric, but I'm minoring in environment and sustainability. And my original plan was to kind of try and tie the two together and do a project that involved community and addressed an exigence, the exigence being this decline in the monarch population. So my idea was to try and create a monarch way station on campus. I did a lot of research and was going to submit a grant proposal in order to support this, a SCIF grant proposal, which is specifically for environmental projects, sustainable projects on campus. So I reached out to Emerson from the SCIF grant office and was looking at the requirements for a $1,000 grant to try and create this monarch way station on campus that would have milkweed plants and also nectar plants. I got in touch with the horticulture department and I researched plants, different native milkweed plants and nectar plants that are good for monarchs and help monarch populations. I also looked at some local way stations that are official monarch way stations and kind of scoped those out and saw what they looked like. And then I looked at some sites on campus that would work. These are a couple of the sites that I looked at on campus. This is what was kind of recommended with the horticulture department here. And then it was also nearby a stand of milkweed that is on campus that I found. And this is that stand. And one of the days when I actually went down to kind of scope and see if there were any caterpillars or monarchs down there, a little baby deer popped out. And here's a picture of that deer that kind of popped out of the milkweed. And I ran away and let it kind of settle back down. But anyway, it was kind of cool. And yeah, so here are some pictures also of some local way stations that have been created. And you can just do them in your yard, you can do them in parks. These two images are from the Garden of Rachel, from Monarchs of the Wasatch Front. The first one is an early planting, and the second one is later in the year when everything has grown up quite a bit. She's also planted, though, in Fairmount Park. There's a way station there that I visited, and also at This Is the Place Monument. So I also researched local garden centers and seed retailers that sell milkweed and also some of these nectar plants for monarchs, and looked into costs for the grant, looked into making sure they didn't use pesticides. And I also started to make a volunteer plan for planting, and then for some like really minimal maintenance that would be required after, in the first year, watering and such. But then when social distancing measures went into place, I realized none of this was going to work out for this year, and so I had to rethink my plan. And I wanted to use all this research that I'd done and also still create something that was practical and usable, and that was still addressing this exigence. And so I decided, I thought about like doing a website, but I don't know, I wanted to make it really easily accessible, something that can be printed but also shared easily on digital platforms online. So I decided to create a document and make it contain all of this information that I have collected, and for citizens of the Salt Lake Valley who might be interested in doing some monarch conservation on their own, like creating a monarch garden in their own yard, or just being involved in some of the citizen science opportunities that are available. So I decided to create a PDF or Word document that just kind of goes through all of these points. And so this is the document that I created. This is still a draft. I'm still going to work a little bit on some design, maybe add some coloring and stuff, and tweak it a little bit, but I wanted to get this presentation submitted so anybody could see it before the semester is completely over. So yeah, I just started out by kind of talking about the exigence. How can I help? Talk about planting a garden. I discussed where to plant, picking out a site, the requirements that are needed. It's very easy. You can plant milkweed anywhere with really low maintenance. Becoming an official monarch way station requires having nectar plants and also providing water and having at least 10 milkweed plants, native milkweed plants. But anybody can plant milkweed anywhere and help monarchs. And anyway, so yeah, I go through and I list some of the instructions on planting, and then I talk about native milkweed plants. I give links to local gardeners who provide pesticide-free milkweed. I give the three most commonly found species that you can find at local nurseries: showy milkweed, butterfly milkweed, and swamp milkweed. And I give a little bit of information about growing those. And then I also provide information about some recommended nectar plants, all native plants. Native plants grow better in our environment. They're better for other species. They're more resilient, just many, many reasons to plant native. So I've provided some really popular ones that are also available at local garden centers that I've researched. And I give also links to additional plants besides the ones that I provided. I didn't want this document to be too big and cumbersome. I wanted it to be something that was easy to read, easy to share, and that easily accessible. And then I talk a little bit about some citizen science opportunities, ways to get involved. You can tag monarchs, you can report monarch sightings and also milkweed stand sightings, and I'm providing links and resources on additional information. And so, yeah, that's my project. My hope is to continue to find places and opportunities to share this document and this information. My husband works for John Miller at Mark Miller Toyota, and he and his brother, who is the owner at Mark Miller Subaru, are both involved in with Hill, Utah, and some other conservation things. They're really active in local environmental projects and needs. And so I'm hoping to kind of go visit their properties and see if there's a spot on their property, and hopefully maybe make a presentation for them to create a monarch way station there, because they're really low cost, easy to maintain, and provide a great benefit for local wildlife, and also for all of us. We get to see monarchs and see monarch caterpillars and have the opportunity to show them to our kids and future generations. I'm also working on, I've started to create a monarch way station in my own yard. It's not complete yet, but I've put in several, like a few different species of milkweed and some local native nectar plants. And here's kind of a picture of some of the progress on that. And yeah, that's my presentation. I just want to say thank you again to all of you. I've learned so much from all of you, not only about writing and rhetoric, but just about how to be awesome, amazing, great human beings. And thank you, Jenny. And if any of you are interested in learning more about creating monarch way stations, or just any of this information, feel free to email me. I'll put my email address up here, along with a picture of my little way station. And I can email you a finished copy of the PDF or Word file. There's just a few more things I want to do, like I said, as far as design. And yeah, best wishes to you all. Thank you so much.